Okay, I know you read the title and you're thinking I'm gonna talk about soccer or paddleball because no one plays them, so therefore they're forgotten or lost. Well, I'm here to tell you, you're wrong. Dead wrong. Yeah, there are other Rec Room originals that are truly forgotten. These rooms have been totally lost across the room. Gotta hate that name. And it literally replaced the rec center door. I digress. These rooms have been totally lost in the millions and millions of rooms that the Roomiverse consists of. Gone and likely never to be played again. Well, today we're gonna rip these rooms out of their peaceful eternal rest and check them out. Up first is actually 3 different Rec Room originals. Dodgeball VR, Paintball VR, and the much lesser known Rec Royale VR. These rooms can no longer be found easily. They're no longer on the play tab and you actually can't search them up anymore. The only way to join this room is through Coach's portfolio or putting the name in a door. Because of their banishment from the play tab, these rooms are very difficult to find. So I think these qualify as lost Rec Room originals. But I want to focus on just Rec Royale VR for a second. Rec Royale VR is just a teeny bit more lost than Paint or Dodgeball, and has some interesting and peculiar circumstances. For starters, Rec Royale VR, after the UI update, was not included in the play tab unlike Paint and Dodgeball VR. Second, Rec Royale VR has a totally different picture. Rather than the picture of the lookout, it instead uses an extremely stretched out and blurry picture of the original launch poster. The room also only supports squads and has the same description as Rec Royale squads. RecNet actually says that mobile and VR are supported, but upon further research, that is, not true. If you don't know, in Dodgeball and Paintball VR, you can only teleport. That was why it was given the VR title in the first place. It separated screen players who could walk and teleporting VR players. But in Rec Royale VR, you can walk and you can teleport. It's seemingly an unchanged version of Rec Royale in a different room, which is pretty interesting. I feel old with this one, dude. Before the current loading screen in Rec Room, where you stand on a small circle of grass and have a login screen in front of you, we had this. Okay, I know it looks bland, and it is, but it's just so nostalgic for me. You faded into a vacant space with a wooden floor, a big old Rec Room logo, a spotlight at an angle facing towards you, and the forbidden one in the shadows. After listening to a few seconds of Rec Room music, a list of your accounts would pop up, you clicked your account, and you're in. Now, why does any of this matter? Well, you can actually still visit this loading screen. I actually didn't even realize it was a room, but it is. Introducing registration. Yup. This is it. Okay, yeah, there's nothing to do in this room. Similarly to Rec Royale VR, you just have to slap registration onto a door. The room is unchanged besides missing the Rec Room logo, and of course it isn't functional. While it is cool, it's also really lonely and extremely eerie. You can actually just keep walking into the void forever and ever and ever until you start falling. So instead, you're falling into the void. I literally can't even hold the camera right. This one fascinates me a whole lot because it is technically a private room, but we all have access to it and of course are not credited as a co-owner or moderator, meaning we kinda shouldn't have access. Which doesn't really make any sense, but Rec Room, please don't remove this. It's such a cool Easter egg. Although I know a lot of people know about this one, I still consider it slightly more lost than Rec Royale VR, as this room is essentially private. It is actually the only room in the entirety of Rec Room that can't be found in a player's portfolio. The only way to access this room is through the door, and you cannot share a link to the room either. Okay, so these two I have less to say about because you actually can't visit them in a modern version of Rec Room, but they're still pretty interesting. I also just realized that I've been holding this backwards the whole time. Anyway, for those who don't know, before we had soccer, we had Shield Soccer, and before the Rec Center, why am I saying we? I wasn't around for this. Before soccer, there was Shield Soccer, and before the Rec Center, there was the locker room. Shield Soccer is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It was the current soccer RRO, but with shields. I couldn't find anything confirming this, but I assume it was created with shields originally to prevent having to add collisions to hands to hit the ball. Rec Room soon went back on this, hypothetically, and added hand collisions and just changed the thing to soccer. Now, the locker room served the exact same purpose as the Rec Center, and low-key had more to do in it. It was called the Locker Room to go on with Rec Room's original and now kinda loose college theme. The name was changed to the Rec Center when they started updating it to be less of a locker room, and they thought it was more fitting. The update was even titled that. Now, here's what's interesting. You'd probably think that the rooms were just renamed to their modern-day counterpart, but you might actually be wrong. When putting either of the names into a door, it says that the room is private, and when inserting them into the back of a RecNet room URL, it gives you a 404 page. So this is possible proof that Rec Room might have created entirely different rooms for the Rec Center and Shield Soccer, and they were just clones with different names. Okay, I acknowledge the shakiness of this claim, and it's just as likely that they renamed the rooms and took the old names before anyone else could snag them, or a player has it with a private room, but maybe they're entirely different, now private rooms, meaning they're also lost. I'll admit it, we're stretching the definition of Rec Room Originals with this one, but trust. These rooms are not technically Rec Room Originals, but I'm counting them on this list because they're both played in Rec Room Original templates. These impromptu Rec Room Originals are Death Race and Paintbow. The wiki also includes dice and cards, but those are lame as hell, so I'm not talking about them. Death Race was the old Rec Room equivalent of a death run, but a bit more complex. Here's how to play. First of all, you gotta go to the Quarry paintball map. Then you have to choose blue and red team as the gunners and the runners. Next, the runners get in position for each of the handoffs, one at midfield and one at the opposing team's base, and the runner running leg 1 waits at their base for the race to begin. The race is started by the gunners throwing a grenade into the middle of the field, and when it goes off, you go. The gunners shot at the runners as they ran to different checkpoints across the map to tag somebody so they could start running. The first runners to reach the end with a grenade and blow it up wins. And I'm sorry, but this one kinda cracks me up a bit, because this was played back when there was only teleport, and everyone was just teleporting to run. Like, I would get so pissed when I got shot. Instead of running, they were all just scooting around. Oh my god. Death Race was played entirely in the Rec Room version of Paintball, just with custom rules, unlike the next one. Paintbow. Paintbow is literally exactly what it sounds like. Paintball, but with bows. Where this one gets a bit funky is that it's a custom room. Yeah, I know, but it's a copy of Paintball, so I'm still counting it. It was made pretty easily, just with a few chips and bows. I actually was able to find the original room by Clay or this guy, but because of circuit updates, it no longer works. It wasn't overly complicated to make back then, so it must be a cakewalk with today's tools. So, did you know any of these? Oh, don't ask. I'm currently on trial for murder of the first degree. Twice. Not to toot my own horn, but I think you didn't know at least one of these before watching. Speaking of watching, I hope you enjoyed doing that. Please consider subscribing. I love you a lot forever. And my Q&A is still open. I love you. Goodbye.